So we go into game 3 of the Northern Crusade in Helsinki, the Guerre competition. And as I've said before, at the end of the last one, I'm walking in there into Scandinavia-ish with a Danish army, feudal Danish army. And in this game, my opponent is the famous Finnish name Scandelis, with a medieval German army, kind of the classic, could be bloody anything in it. So what have you got? You've got a very simple command there with Impetuous Knight. That's the drop it on first. Then you've got a big solid command, 2 foot knights, 3 spear, war wagon artillery, another artillery. It's all pretty pokey to sit there and sit and absorb pretty much anything there. And then loads of medium foot. You've got light foot bow, you've got medium spearmen, you've got light horse bow, a couple of cavalry with crossbow, and a Teutonic knight. So not too many knights in it, but kind of an unusual one. Probably one that I'm going to have to attack rather than, because it sort of looks like it's a bit set up to do the same thing as my army, to sit and absorb a knightly charge and shoot it away in that thing. So look, and there's a war wagon. This is one of my war wagons, but it's always nice to get a big war wagon on screen, particularly as it's going to be very unusual to face one in this competition. So what did the battlefield look like? Well, absolutely cluttered. This is the border of Denmark and Germany. There's hills, there's foresty bits, there's fields, there's bits of brush, God knows what else there is in there. That's probably a plantation. I suspect that's a hill with a plantation on it. That may be a field. Who knows? Could be anything. Can't even remember which way around this one works, actually. I might be able to just quickly grab my book here and see if I did manage to write this down. Oh, there we go. I defended in forest, which was my choice. So again, my obsession with trying to get somewhere for the bolts to jump out of has obviously come to the fore. So this is obviously a forested hill, and that's going to be some of the bolts, and that's going to be some of the bolts as well. There are 6 of them, and you can only put 4 in an ambush. So I suspect there's 4 there and 2 there, because that's maths. And we've got a few light horse and the light foot you've seen here. The one knight, I'm not sure how he's going to squeeze his way through there. A couple of the cavalry, the impact cavalry. There's your 3 medium foot. There's the knight, the knight general that dropped out first, and here's your chunky solid command. So those guys are all going to pile into there. Hopefully I'm going to have a go at them as well. Again, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do really with all these guys, but with spearmen in that line, and even with foot knights as well, I think the 2 units of huscarls are going to be quite busy. That one's in the wrong place, that one's in the right place, and we're just going to be sort of faffing around and seeing how we can get to grips with these 2 different armies. So let's have a look what happens here. Ta-da! There we go. There's the bolts. 3 bolts and a light foot, jumping out, ready to drive away these 3 light horse before all these cavalry and knighty types get a chance to come up. Another light horse is sort of snuck round here. He's been surprised by yet more bolts hiding in a wood or something like that over there. But there's a few more light infantry, so it might be difficult to clear those out, but I've got to scoot those away and try and get into this bit, which is pretty squishy for me. And look, this guy's actually brought his own backdrop, and he's brought his own speech caption. We'll probably get a better shot of him later. Over here, I think as I flagged earlier, the Varangians, not Varangians, the Huscarls have zoomed over from over here and are running at this thing. It's tidied itself up yet. It's heavy artillery, it's spearmen, it's ready and waiting. My other guy's got to sneak in there. There's not even room for that war wagon to fit. And yeah, a few more infantry hiding in this wood here. And you can see my bolts have jumped out. But there are still some knights and people coming up, though some of them might have to fight before the other ones kind of get into combat. And still not sure what these spears are going to do. Definitely not sure what my knights are going to do. Possibly they should have dismounted, because there's a war wagon on table, but that's something I always tend to forget, and I do quite like having the mobility of keeping these guys with so many infantry. Do I really need any more? Well, let's see how the battle develops and have a look at it. So let's see, going forwards, yeah, there's the view. These very, very fancy knights. Lovely paint, isn't it? Lovely paint job there, especially same on these infantry and their shields. But these hairy bolts are getting ready just to have a go at this lot here and try and get as much or as many of them out of the terrain as possible before these couple of knights, well, might be the knight and a general actually, and these heavy cavalry with crossbow get involved. And really, I just want to punch my way through this hole here. And So let's have a look, and it's a partial success. So looks like the knight has managed to let's see, jump from that. So the knight slid over there, the cavalry have slid over there, and he's hit one end of it, and he's attacked them with the medium spearmen, because I guess it makes no odds really to medium spearmen. They're not medium swordsmen who would have been better off standing. They've just attacked. I've stood there with the light foot just really to give these two guys the best possible chance of making their furious charge work. We're out of the terrain, that's all good. Their flank is threatened, I can't really do a lot about that, but this guy's probably a goner, but if these two guys can punch through, they'll get into this terrain, it will all be okay. And bosh, there it is, look at that dramatic victory. The lovely painted shields do nothing as the rather hairy bolts break their way through at first contact, but equally knight against medium swordsman in the open, that's pretty bad as well. Doesn't need these guys to come into the flank. He's been wiped out totally anyway. So let's going to see what's going to happen now. That dramatic start to the game has actually started dramatically. So in the rest of it, with all these sort of spearmen hanging back and the I keep calling Varangids, the Huskars making a rush for it, the spear line is kind of wheeled slightly. I think they're trying to make space for some of the foot knights to get out and get into play. Puts the gun with a slightly different sort of shooting position over there. And I'm just shoving as many troops up as possible, and I really want to get this unit and this unit into the spearmen. See if I can get some crossbow fire to whittle them down a bit before that happens. And it's just going to have a run at that gun really. If these guys get shot by the gun, so be it. They've just got to tough it out. I think that is the solution with artillery. Sometimes you've just got to run at it. And you can see these two medium infantry, the two bolts, have rushed forward and slid across behind here, while my own light infantry carry on trying to fight this other last guy. They just need to get into this terrain as much as possible. Possibly they've had some iffy low pip dice, but they just want to be out of the way of these knights, and then maybe force all these guys to come back and deal with them, or just make a run for the baggage, give him something to think about as well, because this is still all bottled up. It's hard to see these getting through the well, unless there's a kind of round the Maginot line through the Ardennes kind of thing going on here, but I doubt it. So let's have a look here. So yes, they've expanded out. They brought their foot knight out to the end of the line. At the moment, that means he's sat just in a piece of brush there. So 3 spearmen and then the foot knight. Being in the brush is pretty damn risky because it means he's heavy infantry in this terrain, gives him a minus. Not great. There's only a few light infantry here to support his flank, whereas my line now extends quite a lot. So we've got the Huskar there. He's got choices. You've got the spearman on spearman. You've got my Huskar here, who's probably taken a hit from the shooting, but he wants to kind of get into that if he can. So over on the other side, the bolts are just, well, having a laugh. As we see, we've drawn back this knight over here. One of them is just making a run sort of towards the camp. The other one has come back to kind of crush this spearman in the rear after he's beaten my little light infantry to the front. And all these knights and cavalry are kind of wheeling around, looking for something to do, trying to work out where the bolts have gone, deciding they don't want to go into this forest at all, just trying to crush different bits and pieces. But it's kind of a bit of a mess over here, but it's just occupying this whole chunk of my opponent's army. And ultimately there were what, 4 bolts and 2 light infantry. There's a light infantry there, there's 3 bolts, 2 bolts here, there's probably another one, maybe he was there. If they can kill off those 3 spearmen and do a bit extra, that's not a bad exchange really, especially if they occupy all these guys as well. And I think my spearmen, seeing there's very little left, if this guy goes down, they might even have a go at just running through the terrain. They're with no opposition. That's not a bad thing to do. And bosh, there you go. Somebody's gone. Let's have a look who that was. I suspect it was the missing bolt. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe he was there. He's definitely not run down. So he's been caught by someone. He's gone. But I've got that spearman as well. So my one remaining bolt is now in full control of the rough terrain, and all these guys are kind of scattered around to the 4 winds. Here we go into the combat. So I've slammed into this line of spearmen and dismounted knights with my own guys. They've reinforced it with a few crossbowmen. But what I've done here, kind of an interesting bit, these guys go in first. This line goes in first. We contact this guy, but we're not forced to conform fully onto him, because it would mean putting us into terrain. So because they've not yet managed to kind of shake themselves out, or that gap's just a little bit too small, my Huscarl here is fighting a foot knight who's taking the disadvantage for terrain. Spear on spear, spear on spear, and then the Huscarls, even with a couple of injuries by this time, into the spearman on the end of the line. They conform more to him. I don't think the gun can provide overlap, and a little bit dicey here. I've got my crossbowman against theirs. I've got a Lightfoot against theirs because they have reinforced it. But here's really where they want to be doing some damage and just starting to erode these spearmen with our reasonably equal ones, but try and take advantage of that kind of weak point. So let's have a look. So it's a great, a stellar first round of combat, particularly given how evens these things are. The injured guys, using their armor, using their elite, using their winner tie, two-handed cutting weapon thing, they do a hit. This spearman on spearman combat, 2 hits there, hit for me there, and we do a hit on the disordered foot knights as well. And in this evens crossbow fight, we do a hit, and it looks like even the magic light infantry do a double hit. So that, well, literally everything in combat has taken a hit there on the other side, which is remarkable good fortune. And this general is going to be jubilant because we've taken literally nothing. That's going to be very, very, very difficult for this line to recover from. It just looks like a question of time till that crumbles. And here it goes. It starts to crumble. There we go. That's the extra factor. I've got some more bowmen coming into an overlap. My light infantry take down that bowman. This one's still alive. The foot knight is gone. The Huscarls have chopped through him. There's also been a bit more push and shove here. I've taken some hits with the spearman. I've taken a hit with the crossbowman. But these guys are now badly outnumbered. These guys are still wobbling, and there's not really a lot else. That's a general to do it. Sat there at the back, there's a big pile of dead there as this side of the table has just collapsed. And here it is going a bit more counter strike there by the wounded spearmen. They've obviously decided being wounded is the way to be. They've killed one of my spearmen. They've got that one on 3 hits, even though the general's trying to hide it by sitting on it. The Huscarls are still, they haven't made the decisive breakthrough yet. They're still on 2 hits. They've still only inflicted 1. That initial impetus has ground to a halt. But we've got the Huscarls rolling up the end. We've got more people coming in from this side. And as I said, the spearmen from that central command, with no opposition, have actually just walked all the way through this terrain and just charged down the gun, because, you know, they take a -2 for being in terrain, but they get a +1 for that. They get a +1 for fighting the gun, and then the gun goes, and then the whole line falls over. So it's definitely a risk worth taking. There's even the possibility of my knights rushing through to do some more damage there as well. And looks like the foot knights have just turned tail and don't want to be behind this imminent disaster. And that knight, he's come back again. He's been running backwards and forwards here trying to find a target, and suddenly he's going to have one, I think, pretty soon. Back into that last bolt. Here's the last bolt with the other spearmen in here. He's tidied up. It looks like the cavalry on the other side have decided where that, you know, time is struggling, it's drifting away from them. They've come into the terrain to have a go at him because he's on 2 hits. The knight has come into the side to help help the light cavalry with their own backdrop and their own speech bubble, and he's killed off this infantryman. So suddenly these bolts are a little bit in trouble, but there is still sort of bad stuff going on for the opposition over on the other flank. And here it goes. Still more bad stuff. Yep, the gun's gone. That guy's gone. The Huscarls have finally done the business. There's 2 spearmen left there, but, you know, not really much more. It even looks like for some reason the foot knight appears to have disappeared as well. Not quite sure how he did that, but only a matter of time now, I think, before these 2 go. And this whole formation, 2 bowmen, foot knight, spearman, gun, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units. Once they go, that will be done, possibly 8 with the foot knights if they're still around. And not many armies are going to be able to survive that sort of damage. And that was it. That was the end of it. And as you can see, a little teaser. Next up, we've got some Hungarians.